Let's now understand about the judicial decisions. Now, let me explain this to you. In some cases, what can happen is that, there are provisions of Income Tax Act. Okay. The taxpayer, or the assessee as we call him, may interpret them in a particular manner. Okay. But the tax office may not agree with this interpretation, right? So then in that cases, what happens is that the tax office may pass an order asking the taxpayer to deposit taxes. In order to be fair to the taxpayer and ensure that they are not harassed by the tax office, there's a mechanism by which the taxpayer has an option to go to Commissioner of Income Tax, also known as the CIT, and prefer an appeal. Appeal means he goes, just like in cricket you have, whether or not a person is out, if a bowler bowls a ball, you make an appeal to the umpire, right? In case of income tax, what you have is you can appeal to the Commissioner of Income Tax, which is also a kind of IT authority only. He may again pass an order in the favor of either the taxpayer or the tax office. Now let's say he passes an order in the favor of tax office. The taxpayer further has an option to go to courts, okay, and ask them to tell what is the right interpretation. Now these courts basically give their decision, which are also known as judgments. Let us see what kind of courts do we have. So first let's concentrate more on the picture side of it, right? So if you see here, you have IT authorities. So the taxpayer took a position, and the IT authorities includes the assessing officer and the Commissioner of Income Tax. They may take a particular position. Then you have Income Tax Appellate Tribunal. So if the CIT decides something against the taxpayer or the tax office, mind you, CIT can give an order in the favor of either of these two. Okay. Then these parties may go and appeal before the Income Tax Appellate Tribunal. The Income Tax Appellate Tribunal also gives this judgment. Okay. And once that judgment is given, this could be either in the favor of the taxpayer or the tax office. It is also possible that one of these parties may not agree to the judgment of the ITAT, in which case they have an option to go and approach the High Court. Please note that the way I have introduced this is from here to here, from here to here. These arrows represent that if you don't agree with them, you go to the other one. Similarly, if you don't even agree with the High Court, you can go to the Supreme Court. Okay. Now, one of the interesting things to note here is that the judgment of any of these parties, let's say the judgment of Supreme Court, is binding or it's mandatory for all these people. The judgment of High Court is binding on all the people below the High Court. The judgment of ITAT is binding on all the people below it, of course, to the extent that this ITAT has jurisdiction or this High Court has jurisdiction. Right? Let's see the provisions once. Supreme Court and the High Court can give judgments on all disputes arising between the tax department and the assessee. Assessee is basically a word which is used for the taxpayer. Judgment of Supreme Court is binding. Binding means mandatory on all high courts. So there are various high courts in various states. In India, the high courts are made state-wise, while there is only one Supreme Court. Okay, high court are different for different state-wise. Appellate Tribunal, again, this is also state-wise, and IT authorities as well as the assessee. So if there's an assessee who went into appeal from here to here, here to here, here to here, the judgment given by the Supreme Court is binding on all the assessees as well. As against this, the judgment of High Court is basically, let me use a different color. The judgment of the High Court Income Tax Appellate Tribunal are binding on all assessees and IT authorities under their jurisdiction but not on Supreme Court. So if the High Court gives any decision, everyone who falls within the jurisdiction of this High Court has to abide by that judgment till the time it is overturned or till the time the Supreme Court decides something against it. But this judgment is not mandatory for Supreme Court. The Supreme Court can very well decide that we do not agree with this particular judgment. So judicial decisions are basically meant to guide the assessee, to guide the income tax department on various provisions which may be interpreted differently by the tax department or the assessees. Okay?